Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone else around the world, welcome to the Tapology Lucky Bastard Game 36th edition, second round draw. Uh, for this round, uh, for this game rather, what I should say, we started with 42 people in the game, and now we are down to just 19. We had just over half the field eliminated last week. So let's just quickly remind ourselves who those 19 remaining lucky bastards are. They are Baron von Rattus, Cheeseball, Damien Handel 420, Foghorn Sam, Grahamon, Great, who is not actually dead, I hope, but he is no longer on the site because, he just couldn't fucking behave himself. But yeah, he's still in the game because he won last week. He might still win the whole thing. Who knows? But yeah, that's great. Still in the game, even if he's no longer a part of Tapology. It's your boy SB, Jordan and Pippin, which is of course the alliance between Spockling and QQQQQQ, uh, representing the United States of America. KK Combo, Knife Rusty, Cushy Cake, Mule Floyd, Rigno, our reigning defending Lucky Bastard game champion, Shat, made it through to the second round, looking to defend his title, of course. Spacey Fate, skipped one there. Spacey Fate, the Dirty UFC Man, the Matchmaker, Trig, and finally Uber Industry, our German alliance between Ubermatch and Schwer Industry. Longest running a continual alliance that we still have. Okay, so for best of luck to all of you, and for this first second round draw, rather, we have UFC Fight Night, Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer, and this is very much just, another old guard versus the new guard matchup the UFC likes to make in these main events. Israel Adesanya needs no introduction, former middleweight champion. Been on a bit of a losing streak as of late. Lost last three. Got knocked out by Nasruddin Imavov last time, and yeah, I say he's definitely past his prime, but he's still, I feel, a very dangerous fighter. He's still got a wealth of experience, even if he is no longer the fighter he was during his championship days. Joe Pyfer, on the other hand, up and coming fighter, knockout artist primarily. He has got some submissions in his arsenal, as we've seen recently. Also more capable as well, going the distance if need be. So he's definitely evolved, especially in his last few fights, from being a sort of pure knockout artist to showing a lot more to his game than he had previously up to that point. So he's looking very, very good form in the moment. For me, everything in theory should point to Joe Pyfer, but he's just, for my money, a little bit too inexperienced. You can't completely discount Adesanya's experience of being the middleweight champion. All the top guys he fought. He's he's still a dangerous fighter. He's not completely washed. He's past his prime, but he's not completely washed and not completely gone. So I still think he can get a decision win here against Joe Pyfer. I think he'll still be smart enough to avoid the worst of the damage that Pyfer can deal. But we'll see how it plays out on the night. But for my money, I think Israel Adesanya is going to be. It's going to be a bit of a reminder, sort of say, look, hey, I can still win fights. I'm still here. You must have forgotten how good I was back in my prime. But anyway, Israel Adesanya for decision is my pick for that one. Of course, you're not here to listen to my rambles. You're here to see who you're being drawn with in the Lucky Bastard game. So first up, we have Baron von Rattus. See who Baron von Rattus is going to be matched with. and he gets Lerian Douglas. Lerian Douglas there for Baron von Rattus. And, Lerian Douglas against Julian Erosa. Um, very experienced fighter, Julian Erosa. 31 wins and 12 losses in his MMA career overall. Uh, Lerian Douglas isn't inexperienced. He's 13 and 5, so he's still he's I mean comparatively inexperienced compared to someone that's an absolute veteran like Erosa, but he's still he's not a prospect anymore. He's got enough fights. He knows what he's doing now, even though this is his UFC debut. But coming off a five-fight win streak, he's looked good in the LFA and mainly looks for knockouts, but for his main style of. And the only thing is, though, it's he has been knocked out before. He has been submitted before, so he's still not quite the finished product, despite not being a green prospect, shall we say. But there's still things he can improve on. Julian Erosa, very, very experienced, as I mentioned. I feel like he can probably, with a few old school tricks, can actually capitalize on a few mistakes that I think Douglas will inevitably make. So I've gone with Erosa for second round submission here. Uh, but we'll have to see. But not the worst one he could have ended up with, admittedly. But I think this is going to be the old dog teaching the new dog a couple of new tricks here, maybe punishing him for any mistakes. Okay, so next we have Cheeseball. Cheeseball is about to learn his fate at the hands of the wheel. And there we go. Straight away, we have our first head-to-head, Julian Erosa. Uh, Julian Erosa there. So, yeah, that's Cheeseball versus Baron von Rattus. Cheeseball, Julian Erosa, Baron von Rattus, Larian Douglas. I'll focus more on Erosa this time. I'll say it's 31 and 12 in his MMA career. That's 9 and 8 for the UFC. Um, he lost his last fight against Miquel Costa by unanimous decision, but he did win the last three before that, all of them by finish as well. He still looks to finish fighters where possible, and that's what I was saying. It's like when you make a mistake against Julian Erosa, he will punish you for it. And I feel like Larry Douglas is inevitably going to make some mistakes like that at some point. Um, so yeah, in my opinion, I think Erosa's going to be just a little bit too experienced here. Um, yeah, so I think of that head to head, I think Cheeseball's got the slightly more favourable matchup. Um, the only slight concern with Erosa is that he has been knocked out 7 times in his career. Had to take a minute just to try and think of a way of sugarcoating that fact, but there's no real way of sugarcoating that. It's the only thing I suppose I can say is if Douglas is going to win, his knockout is probably the best path to victory. Keep it standing, try finish a Rosa on the feet if you can, and but like I say, I still think that Rosa's going to be he's going to be good enough because, like I say, those losses they weren't recent ones. Well, the knockout ones anyway weren't too recent, so I think Rosa should have the slight upper hand on this one. But it's a very close fight, very intriguing head to head. So early potential contender for the unofficial Lucky Bastard Game main event. Okay, so next, Damien Handel 420. Let's see who Damien Handel's going to be paired with. And he gets Lance Gibson Jr. Lance Gibson Jr. for Damien Handel for 20. Any followers of Bellator obviously would be very familiar with him. 5-1 in that promotion. He lost his last fight, which was his UFC debut, um, against King Green, but that was by a split decision. So that's and King Green, as I was saying, is another very tough veteran. And a lot of the time in the UFC, these veterans, it seems recently, have been clawing back uh some of their prime a bit and getting wins later on in their careers. But obviously, King Green, one of them against Lance Gibson Jr. That was his first introduction to the UFC, so it wasn't too bad a debut, despite the loss. It wasn't too bad a debut. Having said that, he's been given a very tough matchup here against Chase Hooper, and Chase Hooper's been, yes, he's been a little bit of bad form. Obviously, his last fight got knocked out by Alexander Hernandez, um, but he was on a five-fight win streak up until then. But so obviously, we're hoping that that last loss hasn't affected him too much, hasn't dented his confidence. He'll be looking to bounce back to his old ways, and to be honest, I think he will. Um, he usually tries to go for a submission, and I don't see why he wouldn't be trying that again against Lance Gibson Jr. I've got Chase Hooper to win by second round submission here. So I think Damien Handel is going to need quite a bit of luck if he's going to get through in this one. Um, Obviously, best of luck to him anyway, of course. Okay, next we have Foghorn Sam. Let's see who Foghorn Sam is going to be rooting for tomorrow night. And he gets Alexa Thainara there for Foghorn Sam. Thainara. Now, this is a very interesting one. It's the first fight on the prelims. Alexa Thainara in the strawweight division. Alexa Thainara are very heavy favourites for this one. Only lost once in her career against Bruna Brazil, who she is fighting tomorrow night. Um, it's so a bit of background for Tainara anyway. Is 2-0 in the UFC, mostly a submission specialist, and can and has gone the distance multiple times before if need be. Um, and like I say, that's only defeat of her career, 13-1 in her career she is, by the way, was a loss by submission in the third round to Bruna Brazil back in 2019, back when they were both fighting in Jungle Fights, which is a Brazilian regional promotion. Um, so I suppose there's a little bit of psychological edge to this one, really, isn't there? Um, Even though she's now improved massively since then, that was years ago, come on leaps and bounds, and since then, uh, facing an old foe who might have that psychological advantage over her. Um, as for Bruna Brazil, that's probably what she's hoping for. Um, but besides that, and having a few more fights under her belt, that's pretty much all Bruna Brazil has going in her favour for this matchup. The knowledge that years ago she did beat a much younger version of Alexa Tainara. Um, if I think either way, whoever wins, it's going to go the distance. But Tainara just looks She just looks more like, yeah, she's the heavy favourite for a reason, to be honest. Because, like I say, that one loss, that was years ago. Bruna Brazil not been in the best of form. Steady UFC fighters, but not really the sort of form that's it's going to consistently um it's going to consistently cause the modern version of Alexa Tainara. Sure, she might have been able to beat the younger version of Alexa Tainara, but not really, given what we've seen of her in the UFC, where she's got more losses than wins in the promotion. Yeah, I just don't see how she beats this sort of more up to date, improved Alexa Tainara 2.0, shall we say? But it is interesting to know it's got the that psychological advantage. But overall, Foghorn Sam should be all right here. One of the heaviest favourites you can get on this card. So I think Foghorn Sam should be through to the third round here. Okay, next is Grahamon. Let's see who Grahamon is going to be matched with. And he gets Terence McKinney. Terence McKinney there for Grahamon. What a fun fighter he is, by the way. Pure action. Uh, Obviously up against Carl Nelson tomorrow night. And again, Carl Nelson's a very all-action fighter, really. Uh, Incredible thing that always gets me with Terence McKinney. 17 wins, 8 losses. So that's 25 fights in his career, and 7-5 in the UFC. Never once gone the distance, ever. No wins or losses are by the distance. Every single one of them is a knockout or a submission, win or loss, usually in the first round too. Kyle Nelson, not quite the same stats, but very similar in the sense that most of his fights also end before the scheduled distance. And I just feel like it's going to be a case of whoever lands first could win this. And McKinney, for my money, is just a bit, I say, just a little bit fresher, but yeah, just a little bit better, really. Just I think in this kind of a firefight, this is the sort of fight he'll absolutely thrive on. Someone comes out, um, matches his energy right from the first bell. That's going to suit McKinney right down to the ground. So I think it's a bit of a 50-50 one. But I would rather be on the side of McKinney than Nelson. So I think Grahamon should be he should consider himself relatively lucky to get McKinney. Okay, so we move on now to Great. Uh, Obviously no longer with us on Tapology because, like I say, he just could not stop talking, shall we say, about everything. Anyway, but we all wish you the best. We all liked you. Well, there are a few people obviously didn't, but we all liked you in the game. And let's just see if you. Well, this is going to be your last ever game under the name Grace. Anyway, you might come back as an alt one day, but play again perhaps. Hope you do. But this is last time you'll be playing under the banner of Great. So hopefully we can go all the way. Maybe wouldn't that be something? Anyway, let's see who Great is going to be paired with. And Great gets Bruna Brazil. So I think that is going to be the last time we see Great in the game, to be honest with you. Bruna Brazil. And so that gives us a head to head there. Foghorn Sam with Alexa Tainara, and Great with Bruna Brazil. And like, as I say, Bruna Brazil does have that win over Tainara back in 2019, but 2019, that's what, 7 years ago now, or coming up to 7 years ago anyway. That's a very long time in MMA. So much can change. I mean, just look at how much at UFC's changed since 2019. You compare who the champions were then to who we got now. It's a lot. It's a very fast moving sport, MMA. So it's a lot's going to change in that time. And like I say, Alexa Tynara has obviously has come on leaps and bounds since then. Yeah, so I think Tynara was going to get revenge. I think Brazil's going to be a little bit too tough to finish. I think she's good enough that if Tainara comes out swinging wildly or sort of looking for revenge in a decisive fashion, I think Brazil should be able to fend that off for the most part. But I think it's still going to be a long 15 minutes for Brazil here. So yeah, I think that's probably the last time we're going to be seeing great in the game, unfortunately. But it's been great fun having you. But who knows, maybe a massive upset. You might still be here in the third round, but um, I doubt it. Okay. So now it's your boy SB. It's your boy SB next to see who he's being matched with for tomorrow night's action. And he gets one of the main eventers, Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya, therefore, it's your boy SB. And yeah, all I can say about that is obviously Adesanya, former middleweight champion, very good champion as well, very active champion as well, I will add. Um, that's becoming rarer, especially in middleweight division at the moment. Hamza Chimaev's currently holding the belt. Uh, and needless to say, he's not very active. Like when they say go Dagestan 2, 3 years and forget, they don't mean go Dagestan 2, 3 years and forget about your fucking title responsibilities and what you owe the fans as a champion. But he has, and I joke, of course. So I know he's got a lot of medical issues and's been very unwell. But anywho, Israel Adesanya was a very active champion, and that's one thing I think a lot of fans didn't always appreciate at the time. He got a lot of stick at the time for his fights being boring. They often went the distance. And okay, yeah, some of them they weren't the most eventful fights. But at the end of the day, we should have definitely appreciated him more than we did at the time because yeah, there haven't really been that many active champions since then, to be honest. I mean, okay, the only other one, to be fair, was Daniel Duplessis. Dricus Duplessis, not Daniel Duplessis. Anglicising him, aren't I? Dricus Duplessis, rather. Um, he was active in his defence, and Sean Strickland was probably about as active as he can be for losing your belt on your first defence. But yeah, with Adesanya, I do kind of miss having him as the middleweight champion, but put some great fights on. But Joe Pyfer, very much the uh, well, probably the most dangerous up and comer at middleweight at the moment. So it's if if Joe Pyfer wins this, he's definitely going to be sniffing around for a title shot in the future, especially if he finishes Adesanya. If he, I mean, if he finishes Adesanya, then there's no reason at all why he shouldn't be fighting the likes of Imavov and Whitaker, but etc. and Duplessis as well, of course. But he should be right up there amongst the contenders if he does win against Adesanya tomorrow night. But I still think that Adesanya is he's still got all that wealth of experience. And he's a very intelligent fighter. He's very good at adapting. We remember that from his fights with Alex Pereira, of course. Okay, lost the first one in it was just talking about UFC. Obviously, I know they got even more history outside the UFC in kickboxing, but lost that first fight against uh, Alex Pereira and and then came back, knocked him out in the rematch, and I say fair play to him. He made those, and that wasn't a fluke. He made those adjustments. He looked what he did wrong. He fixed them errors, and he came and got the win. So I think that Adesanya is just going to be a little bit too clever, too experienced for Joe Pyfer here. So I think it's your boy SB's got a very reasonable chance of seeing the third round. Okay, next, Jordan and Pippin are up next. Our American alliance. Let's see who. Let's see how they get on. Last time they were in a head-to-head against Trostradamus. Obviously, Jordan and Pippin came out on top in that battle. So it's very much a passing of the torch moment with Trostradamus retiring for now, anyway. Um, and sort of passing the torch of the American alliance on to Jordan and Pippin. So let's see. Let's see if they can fulfill the prophecy, go one further where Trostradamus couldn't. Yep, and I think they can see the third round here. Got Casey O'Neill. Casey O'Neill there for Jordan and Pippin. Probably not spell that right, but yeah, Casey O'Neill, a very entertaining fighter, very aggressive fight style. Obviously up against Gabriela Fernandez tomorrow. Um, and O'Neill looks very well rounded. She always looks to finish fights. Um, and quite a lot of the time she does, but even if she can't always get the finish, she will win over the distance if need be. And that's what I think she's going to do against Fernandez because Fernandez is a very tough fighter herself, and again, I can't see um O'Neill finishing her just yet, despite that aggression, because she's still a little bit inexperienced. You've got to remember O'Neill was still only 10-2 in her pro career. Fernandez not too much more experienced, to be fair, 11-3, but I just feel that Fernandez still she's had quite a few decent quality fights. Been in the UFC for five fights now. Had three fights in the LFA before that. So I think Fernandez will be able to hold her own against O'Neill, but yeah, I think it's just a case of O'Neill's going to be putting her under a lot of pressure for the whole fight, and then come the end of that 15 minutes, yeah, she'll be that should have done the more damage, more impressive body of work in the eyes of the judges. And I will also uh point out at the moment we've got a bit of an on-running joke here, and because obviously the in the law of the game anyway, basically the wheel is being accused of having anti-American bias, and Jordan and Pippin, of course, the flag bearers for the United States, and I just find it ironic, especially given that the wheel, because I'm British, from the United Kingdom, from England, from the British Isles, whatever you want, however you want to put it, um, from Brexit Ireland, wherever you, and by that logic, because I unfortunately am responsible for creating the wheel, bringing it upon this world. I suppose that makes the wheel British as well. So I think it's ironic that we have a British fighter representing Jordan and Pippin, of course, Casey O'Neill for whereas from Scotland, of course. So I think it's quite fitting that to have an American alliance represented by a British fighter. And I think it's going to be a British fighter carrying the American alliance through. All I will say is if Casey O'Neill does lose and Jordan and Pippin go out as a result of um, the wheel giving them a British fighter, all absolute motherfucking hell is going to break loose on that thread, and rightly so. The wheel is, of course, under inquiry for that alleged anti-American bias. But anyway, I think they should get through. Going back to being serious, I think they should. I think Jordan and Pippin, QQQ, and Spotlin, they're getting through. They should do. I'd be surprised if they didn't. Okay, next, KK Kombu is going to find out who his dance partner for tomorrow night is. He gets Ricky Simon. Ricky Simon there for KK Kombu. And UFC veteran Ricky Simon. Uh, 22 wins, 7 losses, 10 and 6 in the UFC alone. So that's 16 fights, which is incredible by this in this day and age. Does tend to go the distance a lot, but it does have knockout power as well to finish weaker fighters. But for the most part, he's very good at just controlling fights and seeing out the win. Um, Lost to Raoni Barcelos last time out by decision, but I can see him bouncing back here against Adrian Yanez, who, in my opinion, isn't quite at the same level as Simon. I think just maybe a step or two below. Yanez has been in the UFC to his credit for a while now, 6-3 in the promotion. So that's 9 fights, obviously. Uh, and of course, experienced enough in MMA as well. 17 wins, 6 losses, so not too far behind Simon in terms of experience. But in terms of skill level, I do still have Simon as just maybe a level, just maybe just one level above Yanez. So I think it's very much a case of Simon fighting down a little bit here, Yanez fighting up a little bit here, even if the odds are close. Um, I think the main thing, of course, as I mentioned, Simon very good at going the distance, and Yanez, he's got a bit of he can go the distance. He's got the stamina too, got the endurance too, but he got the heart too as well. But he does have a bit of a 50-50 record with getting the decision once the final bell goes. So I think that if it makes it to the end of the fight and it's both fighters still standing, Ricky Simon is going to be the more likely to get his hand raised. Um, so I think KK Kombu should be quietly confident with that. It's not a certainty. Nothing ever is in this game, of course, but nothing ever is in MMA or life even for that matter. But I think he should be quietly confident in this one, KK Kombu. Okay, next, Knife Rusty. Let's see who Knife Rusty is going to be rooting for. I'll speak of the bloody devil, Adrian Yanez. Adrian Yanez for Knife Rusty. So that's obviously head to head between AK Kombu with Ricky Simon and Knife Rusty with Adrian Yanez. And like I say, I can't, not much else I can really add to that, to be honest. Yanez, if he's his best chance of winning, I was probably by knockout, looking for an early knockout, particularly because that's where he's had the most success of the fights he's won. But that's just I can't see that happening against someone like Simon though, who's very good at dictating the tempo of a fight and controlling the fight. So um, yeah, I think this is going to be a long 15 minutes for Yanez tomorrow night. Uh, a flash knockout, particularly in the first round, is possible, but I think especially if the first round comes to an end and both fighters still there, well, I think the chances of Yanez getting any kind of result have gone downhill significantly after that. But still, relatively close fight, but I do fancy Simon for this one. So I think Knife Rusty might just need a little bit of luck. Definitely got the underdog in my eyes for that one. Okay, Cushy Cake. Let's see who Cushy Cake is now going to be paired with. And he gets Mansur Abdul Malik. Mansur Abdul Malik there for Cushy Cake. He's obviously against UC Gurui. Apologize for butchering that name. I've probably butchered Mansur Abdul Malik's name as well, so apologies to both fighters there. In my case, I've gone with for this fight, I've gone with Belaguri for the second round knockouts. My prediction for this one. Uh, both look for knockouts. Both Malik and uh, Belaguri looking for knockouts. Malik a little bit more experienced in the UFC. I've had a few more fights at that level, 3-0 and one draw, and Belaguri, of course, 1-0, having won his debut. Um, it's quite an interesting matchup because Malik has only ever been the distance once, and that was that draw he had. Whereas Belaguri has, despite being a very active, all-action fighter in the and it looks at the knockouts, but never actually been finished. Uh, and never won or lost a fight by submission either. That's a slight concern because we don't really know how good or bad he is in terms of finishing fights via submission, but or defending fights, fight-ending submissions as well. But I don't think Malik's going to trouble him too much in that regard. I think it is going to be a case of whoever lands first, again, could win. But I think Bill Grief, I think he's a little bit more. He's got a few more rounds under his belt because he's does. Not all Malik's a lot of his fights they end in the first round, whereas Belgari's got a little bit more experience of having gone those extra few rounds. But I think uh, Abdul Malik might guess out potentially, um, especially if Belgari survives that first round and Malik's empties his gas tank looking for the knockout and hasn't found it. I think Belgari's going to could drag him into some deep water here, particularly from the second half of the fight onwards. So I've gone with a second round knockout for um, Belgari there. Okay, next, Mule Floyd. Let's see who Mule Floyd is going to be matched with. And he gets another one of the other main eventer, Joe Pyfer. I believe it's your boy SB who got Israel Adesanya. So it's Joe Pyfer for Neil Floyd. We've got a few separate head-to-heads here actually. I think there's about four fights now where we've got head-to-head. So the wheel's definitely looking to guarantee eliminations here. Uh, and as I said in the intro, and when it was Adesanya for it's your boy SB has Adesanya. Um, I'll say I don't think even despite his bad form, I don't think you can discount that championship experience and the performances he put in over the years defending that belt. Um, I think he's still capable of beating maybe not the guys right at the top of the division anymore, but definitely quite a few of the ranked guys and the up and comers. And Joe Pyfer falls into that category for me. And I think that despite Joe Pyfer's recent improvements, and he has improved significantly, I've been very impressed with him over his last couple of fights, and how he's evolved a bit or shown different sides to his game that didn't really have an opportunity to show off so much from where he's just kept knocking everybody the fuck out straight away. Um, so I think Joe Piper's going to put in a good performance here, but Israel Adesanya is just going to show why he was a champion for so long. Um, there is, of course, that risk, obviously, that Python lands that knockout blow. That's why Imavov managed to land on Adesanya, and I was very surprised when that happened. Um, so that is the risk, but I still think Adesanya should be considered the favourite for this one. Okay, let's see who Rigno is going to be matched with. So Rigno about to learn his fate, and Rigno gets Ricky Simon. I think that's our first double up. I've mentioned the head-to-head, so I think this is the first time we've had a double up on the in the game because it was KK Kombu as Ricky Simon just a few moments ago. And as I mentioned, I think this is a very good matchup for Simon. This is sort of, I think Adrian Yanez is the sort of fighter that Simon's very good at controlling, very good at managing. Um, because I can expect Yanez to come out a little bit more aggressively in the first, and he might even win the first round. But from the second round onwards, I'm expecting Simon to take over if he hasn't already started taking over after the first round. Um, I think Simon would be unwise to try anything else. To be honest, like I say, he's got knockout power to finish fights himself, of course. So, but I think that would be a bad idea against Ginez. I think he should play it safe and look to try and win by decision here. And I think that's the path to victory for Simon, especially given that he's looking to bounce back after that loss to Raoni Barcelos last time out. So I think Rigno, decent chance here. Very decent chance. Again, quietly confident. Okay, our reigning defending Tapology Lucky Bastard Game, champion, sorry, Shat. Um, let's see, can he carry on his quest to beat the wheel for a second time in a row? He's won two games overall, the 35th, and I also believe he won the 21st. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was the 21st edition he also won. Let's see if he can make it three, or at least go on another step to making it three and two in a row as well. Uh, well, that's taken a bit of a blow there because it's Adrian Yanez, who I've just been spent a good few moments slagging off. Um, so it looks like Adrian Yanez versus Ricky Simon is going to be our unofficial Tapology Lucky Bastard Game main event here. Um, as I say, gone over a few times now. Yanez's best path to victory should be sort of an early knockout because I don't see him beating Simon over the distance at all. Um, we'll just have to be a little bit careful not to gas himself out if he does do that. Maybe try to save some power for the second round because if he gasses out, alternatively, as I said, Simon can finish him off. But I wouldn't recommend that for Simon. But if Yanez completely is clearly gassed out, then Simon is capable of putting him away. But I think our champion's going to be in a little bit of trouble tomorrow night. I think the wheel might have just claimed our current champion here. So moving on now to Spacey Fates. Spacey Fate obviously making his debut in the game. Got through his first ever round, so well done to that. Let's best of luck for getting through to your uh, winning this one as well, getting through to the third. And Spacey Fates with Alexa Grasso. Alexa Grasso there for Spacey Fate. Co-main event. Women's flyweight fights against Macy Barber. Macy Barber, let's be honest, should be the heavy favourite for this. Um, obviously, both Grasso and Macy Barber have had quite a lot of fights in the UFC now. They're both very experienced in flyweight, looking for title shots. Grasso is on a two fights losing streak, but that's not too bad because they're both decision losses against Natalia Silva and of course the current champion Valentina Shevchenko. So nothing too shameful about those losses at all. Only two of the best in the division there on the record. But having said that, Macy Barber is another one you've got to argue is one of the best in the division. And it's like I say, I think she's going to win this. It's by decision, currently riding a seven-fight win streak. And I think she's going to rely on sort of going the distance mostly. She's got knockout power, but I think lately she has tended to go the distance and take a more tactical approach to fighting, which is sensible when you get to this level. Because when you're looking at title shots and things, it's not about always trying to get. Well, I mean, obviously, if you can knock them out, do, but don't leave it to the judges if you don't have to. But definitely, game management comes into it a lot more than at this level because if you're looking for a title shot and then you lose against one of the other contenders, it could be several fights until you're clawing your way back into that position that you were in. Um, I think Spacey Fate, yeah, going to need a bit of luck here. Grasso probably got the edge on the ground game, but that's probably about all I can really say, to be honest. I think in most other departments, I think Barber's got a slight edge, but best of luck anyway. And it's a close enough fight, so it's not a death sentence, unlike some of the fighters on this card would have been. But definitely could have been better. Okay, so we have the dirty UFC man next to see who he's going to be paired with. Let's see who's he going to be rooting for. He also gets Alexa Grasso, so that is two with Alexa Grasso there. So the dirty UFC man and Spacey Fates um, with Alexa Grasso, and as I said just a second ago, Macy Barber just looks a very complete, well-rounded fighter these days, and I can see her beating. Yeah, I say we can see her beating Grasso in most part aspects of the fights. Um, Grasso a little bit more experienced, but Barber's not inexperienced herself. Only a few fights behind in terms of their records. Grasso 16-5-1, Barber 15-2. Um, Grasso, of course, been in the UFC a little bit longer as well, a little bit more experienced, so slight edge in terms of experience. But yeah, Barber's looked really good in the flyweight division. I wouldn't be surprised she has the belt sooner or later. So um, yeah, I think as I said to Spacey Fair, I think there's dirty UFC man. Gonna need a little bit of luck with this pick. Okay, just make sure I'm still sharing this screen. Yeah. Next, the matchmaker. Let's see who is the matchmaker going to be paired with. What sort of matchmaking is the wheel going to cook for him or going to organise for him? And we get Casey O'Neill, one I'm fairly confident in. Casey O'Neill. So yeah, I think that's definitely better than it could have been. As I mentioned, up against Gabriela Fernandez. Um, I've mentioned before, of course, I've got her to win by decision. Who else was it had Casey O'Neill? It was, of course, it was Jordan and Pippin. How could I forget? Of course, Jordan and Pippin got Casey O'Neill, because why wouldn't the American Alliance get a Scottish fighter? But um, but yeah, the matchmaker also riding with Casey O'Neill, and very fan-friendly, aggressive approach to her fights, and very well rounded on top of that as well. So uh, Fernandez, as I say, very tough fighter, put up a good fight, but it will be a long 15 minutes, as I can see. Um, Not just the 15 minutes where she's just sort of outworked, because O'Neill's definitely going to be trying to hurt her as much as she can. And if she can smell blood, she's going to go for the finish as well. But Fernandez, a little bit too good in my money for my money to be finished by O'Neill, but I think is O'Neill's going to win all the same. She's proven she does have the stamina to go the distance if it comes to it. So yeah, I think the matchmaker should be making it through to the third round. Okay, down to our last two. Trig is next to discover who he'll be paired with. Gabriela Fernandez. There we go. The opponent of Casey O'Neill. So I suppose you can maybe make the argument that this one's going to be the Lucky Bastard Game main event. Gabriela Fernandez, though, I think Trig's the only one on her. Well, I mean, not like that. I mean, the only one who's been drawn with her. Um, Fernandez. There we go. Yeah, I suppose now I've got to try and play devil's advocate here, go against my own bias and think that uh, um, try and make the argument of why Fernandez could win. But Fernandez mostly looking for submissions by comparison to O'Neill, though O'Neill prefers to try and find knockouts if possible, mostly with ground work, but a lot of her fights ending with ground strikes. But Fernandez, it's yeah, probably maybe slight advantage in sense of in terms of submissions, but O'Neill's very capable of finishing people on the ground by submission if need be as well. She's not a complete brute. She done has learnt the more gentle arts of the sports, and I think at the very least, even if Fernandez does try get an opportunity to try and submit O'Neill, I think she'll O'Neill will be good enough to at least defend it. Anything that Fernandez tries. So yeah, I think Trig's going to be taking an exit here, I'm afraid. Okay, last but no means least, our second alliance of the game. Well, obviously three alliances entered this game, only two remain now. This is the last one for this round. Uber Industry, the German alliance between Ubermatch and Schwer Industry, of course. Longest standing alliance still going. So massive respect for that. Let's see. Who's the last fighter to be drawn for Uber Industry? Oh, and we have a new fighter here, one that hasn't come up yet, Nico Price. Nico Price there for Uber Industry. And again, absolute veteran of the UFC and MMA in general, and so is his opponent, Michael Chiesa. First time his fights come up in this draw, actually. Um, but yeah, just I'll read off their records because they're absolutely insane. So Nico Price is 16-10 in his MMA career, 8-10, no draws, but two no contests in his UFC career. Michael Chiesa, 19-7 in his MMA career, 14-7 in the UFC. I've gone with Chiesa here though, and I think Chiesa should be yeah, and he is. He's a massive favourite. Just check what I scribbled down on the notes. -900 favourites. That's like Improper odds in fractions, that's about 1 to 10, 1 to 9, something around that. Um, so basically, stick a tenner on and you get a quid back for your money. It's not worth a bet, but Chiesa, massive favourite. Possibly the. I haven't written the odds for all the fighters down, as I'm trying to mention gambling as little as possible in these videos going forward. But it's wouldn't be surprised if he's the biggest favourite on the cards. And he should be as well, to be honest. He's despite being a veteran, he's shown recently he's still got a lot of form, still getting wins. And Nico Price, on the other hand, not so much. He's lost three in a row and lost five of his last six fights. Um, and the thing that concerns me the most with Nico Price is that he fought recently, but it was a standing TKO loss just 6 weeks ago against Nikolay Verin Tennekin, who that was I just don't I think he should take a bit more time off, especially given his age. Even though it was only a standing TKO, it's not like he went out cold or anything, but still, give your body a bit more than 6 weeks to recover. I mean, respect for getting in there again so soon. He's an absolute warrior for doing that, absolute badass for doing that. But maybe not the sensible approach. I suppose the only saving grace is that Chiesa's probably going to look to submit him. That's what Chiesa's main specialist is. So I don't. Hopefully, it won't take too much damage. But I can't see any way Nico Price wins this, if I'm being completely honest. So I think we might be saying goodbye to Uber Industry here. Okay, so that concludes the draw for the second round of the 36th edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. I'll just go through those one more time. I won't bother untangling all the different permutations. Let's take a large sip of my drink first, and then I'll reel them off. It was made vodka and orange. Managed to make it last. Anyway, so the here's the rundown of it. Um, Baron von Rattus with Larry Douglas. Cheeseball with Julian Erosa. Damien Handel 420 with Lance Gibson Jr., Foghorn Sam with Alexa Tainara, Grahamon with Terence McKinney, Great with Bruna Brazil, It's Your Boy SB with Israel Adesanya, Jordan and Pippin with Casey O'Neill, KK Combo with Ricky Simon, Knife Rusty with Adrian Yanez, Cushy Cake with Mansour Abdul Malik, Mule Floyd with Joe Pfeiffer, Rigno with Ricky Simon, Shat with Adrian Yanez, Spacey Fates with Alexa Grasso, The Dirty UFC Man also with Alexa Grasso, The Matchmaker with Casey O'Neill, Trig with Gabriela Fernandez, and Uber Industry with Nico Price. So that's the draw done, and all that leaves me to say is best of luck to all of you. And obviously, um, got any picks on Tapology for this card, which I'm sure you most of you will. That's the whole point of Tapology, really, isn't it? Best of luck with those. You got any bets on this card? Best of luck with them too. And we'll see how many of you make it into the third round. There's quite a lot of head-to-heads in this, so it's certain there's going to be some. It's almost certain there's going to be a third round, no question about it. But we'll see how many of you make it to that third round. But until next time, best of luck and so long for now.